The following teaching is possible thanks to the friends and partners of Spirit and Truth Fellowship International.
Well, what do you feel like doing? That comes up a lot in our household. We'll be sitting around at night or something, and you worked hard during the day, you come home, and my wife and I look at each other, well, what do you want to do? What do you feel like doing? And then we discuss it. But I've been thinking a lot lately that that's probably the wrong question to ask, or at least the wrong question to ask first. I have a better question, which is, what is it wise to do? The world doesn't put a lot of emphasis on wisdom. It puts a lot of emphasis on having fun. Just having a great time, having fun. But a lot of times what it's wise to do isn't necessarily fun. And I think if we're really going to walk with God, then sure, there are times we can ask ourselves, what do we want to do? But I think there are other times where we need to be asking ourselves, what is it wise to do? The Bible makes it very clear that wisdom is the principal thing. Wisdom is the chief thing. Wisdom is to be our number one. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7. Wisdom is the chief thing. Get wisdom. And with all you're getting, get understanding. Wisdom is the chief thing. Get wisdom. You and I are to be wise in how we live. We're supposed to make wise choices. And there are times that wise choices feel really good. What do you feel like doing? And what you feel like doing happens to be the wise choice. But there's a lot of times where what we feel like doing isn't the wise choice. Maybe there's something that God would rather have us be doing that isn't necessarily what we're excited about doing at the moment. And so the Bible talks about people changing their mind, changing their pathway. Talking about wisdom, Psalm 94, verse 8. Take notice of this, you stupid ones among the people, and you fools, when will you be wise? When will you be wise? See, if I'm sitting around going, well, what do I feel like doing? And there's a lot of things for God that I haven't done in a while yet, or maybe I haven't done that day, or I need to do. Maybe there's things I need to take 15, 20 minutes, a half hour and pray for, read the Bible, call somebody who needs encouragement, go see somebody who needs encouragement. There's so many, depending on your ministry and where you are in life, so many different things it might be really wise to do for God. But if we sit around and say, what do you feel like doing? They may simply escape notice because you're not in that mindset where you're asking yourself, what's the wise thing to do right now? But here's the scripture, you fools, when will you be wise? Well, being wise starts with asking the question, what's the wise thing to do now? And then Proverbs chapter 9, verse 12 says this, if you are wise for your own benefit. And that's really true. When we act wisely, it blesses us. It blesses us here in our life, and it sets us up for everlasting rewards. And it helps God out. It's a fantastic thing. And so he says, when you're wise for your own benefit. A lot of times, what do you feel like doing? We go off and we do what we feel like doing, and it doesn't help us and it doesn't help the other person. But if what we're doing is wise, then it's also beneficial. Something else is a wise person fears the consequences of their actions because, every action has a consequence. If you're doing the wise thing and you're doing it for your benefit and God's benefit, you'll get a reward. If you're doing something foolish, then you're probably not going to meet the world's best end. And so Proverbs 14:16 says, a wise person fears and turns away from evil. Well, what does a wise person fear? A wise person fears the consequences of actions. If you do something that's just just wrong, just evil, just hurtful. Can be hurtful to others, it's hurtful to you. A wise person goes, I may feel like doing that, but it's not the best thing to do. I'm finally at my age beginning to really pay attention to what I eat. And just the other day I turned down this frankly really delicious looking piece of cake that I really felt like eating. But I'd love to think wisdom rose up inside me and battled that feeling down, and I just let it go. And now, a couple days later, do I miss not having had the cake? No. Am I thankful? Do I feel the benefit of not having that cake? Absolutely. And there's other ways you can hurt yourself or waste your time or whatever. The wise person, I love this, Proverbs 14:16, the wise person fears and turns away from evil. See, every action has consequences. And if I sit around and ask myself, what do I feel like doing? I may end up doing something that has consequences that I don't really want. If I ask myself, what is wise to do? Then I'm going to be blessed by the consequences and bless others and bless God. And then we always want to also have kind of an everlasting view of our life. We'll be rewarded in eternity for the things that we do now. It's another great reason to ask, what is it wise to do? Proverbs 14:8 says, the wisdom of the prudent is to understand his journey. Do you understand where you're going? Do you know where you're going? Do you have a clear vision of the hope? Do you have an idea of the rewards that you can get? Jesus Christ hung on the cross, and it says, for the joy that was set before him. Jesus knew he would be king. He knew he would be, because of his sinless life and death, he would be able then to have all the people that he knew about, Moses and Elijah and the prophets and the prophetesses and all those wonderful people, and he'd be surrounded, and the paradise would be a wonderful place, like he said to the thief on the cross, as they were both dying, you will be with me in paradise. Christ really had a vision for the hope. And we do too. We can too. The wisdom of the prudent is to understand his journey. And the Hebrew word journey there is derek, way. It's way, road, path, journey, manner of life. So the wisdom of the prudent is that I understand what I'm doing now and why I'm doing it. And I understand where I'm going long term too. How does what I'm doing now fit with my long-term plans for my success and success in the world and success as a godly person? The wisdom of the prudent is to understand his journey. Maybe you're feeling you don't understand your journey. Okay, well, James says that if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives liberally. So I'd say, start praying about it. Start praying to understand your journey better and get a clear focus on who you are, what your ministry is, what your journey is before God. And then I'd ask, what's the wise thing to do now? And I'd get about doing that. Here's Moses, who is a great example of someone who didn't do what he felt like doing, but had a long-term vision. Hebrews chapter 11, verses 24 to 26. By trust, Moses, when he was grown up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing to be mistreated along with the people of God rather than to enjoy the temporary pleasures of sin, considering abuse for the sake of the Messiah greater riches than the treasures of Egypt, for he was looking to the reward. Now here's Moses. Now, I can tell you what he felt like doing. He felt like being royalty. He felt like having all those slaves and servants, being elevated in a high position. What he said went, having all that authority, living in complete pleasure and all of the, literally, like it says, all the pleasures of evil, all the pleasures of sin, all the grandeur of Egypt. And he could have lived in that. But he was wise and he understood his journey. And so he was looking for a reward, and that reward was so clear to him that he considered abuse for the sake of the Messiah greater riches than the treasures of Egypt. And see, that's where you and I have to be. I have to be more concerned about the end and the rewards and what I can do for God, how much God's done for me, what I can do for God in return. And I'm concerned about that. And so I ask myself, what is the wise thing to do? Not, what do I feel like doing now? Absolutely. And I contend that if we start asking ourselves, what is the wise thing to do, before we ask ourselves, what do I feel like doing? And if once we ask ourselves, what's the wise thing to do, we do some of that we will find that our journey greatly improves, we are blessed, and we are more of a blessing to others.